this is Tori with Fully Booked. Speaking of which, realizing that I did subpar research when naming my channel, I was surprised that no other booktubers had already used Fully Booked. Turns out they have. So there's a booktuber named Melissa who already uses this name, which I figured out once I did a little bit more understanding of how hashtags work on YouTube and BookTube and etc. So I am trying to come up with a new name. I hope to have it for my next video, and a new banner and all that stuff. Yeah, we'll see what I come up with. But anyways, so today I wanted to talk about March of the Mammoths, which I have the links to the folks who came up with this challenge in the description. You can see all of their booktubes too and their announcement videos. But basically the idea is to, during the month of March, read a mammoth, which is qualified as a book of 800 pages or more. And I love to punish myself with books of more than 800 pages, much to the chagrin of Robin, one of my book club friends, who has, I don't think, enjoyed any of the long books that we've read. Too long. But I think it can be really, when you really like character development, it makes sense sometimes to really keep going for longer than 500 pages, sometimes even more. So I'm excited to have a challenge to read a couple of the longer books that I've been kind of looking at on my bookshelf and not reading. The first book, Mammoth, so I'm going to read two Mammoths. Again, enjoying punishing myself with long books. Partially because I feel like I'm cheating a little because I already am reading one right now. The Ambergris, I don't know, I guess I've been calling it a trilogy, but maybe it's an omnibus. It's a series of 3 books by Jeff Vandermeer. You might know his Southern Reach trilogy, which the first of which ended up being made into a film called Annihilation that was popular and quite good, other than Oscar Isaac's abysmal Southern accent. But yeah, I really liked the movie, and I liked the books enough to really start paying attention to Vandermeer's work. It really has a lot of ecology in it, and natural, kind of the incursion of the natural into the ordered space of humans. And that theme is present throughout his work. But I really only thought the first of the Southern Reach trilogy was next level. And so like I said, been reading all of his work since then. This book is a little older, or this, omnibus of several books. And you can really see how he's playing with the same ideas as he ends up putting into the Southern Reach trilogy, which I think is maybe, some people say Ambergris is weirder, but I think that Southern Reach is less accessible. So I might recommend this one if you are interested in going a little weird, but maybe not too weird. Vandermeer is known for being a trailblazer in the new weird subgenre of fantasy, which I was reading before this video has kind of died out or been subsumed into other subgenres. Steampunk, which most people are familiar with, and then something called grimdark, which is kind of playing up the nihilistic bad aspects of the speculative future, or I guess not necessarily the future. The Witcher was one thing that I found as a grimdark universe example that a lot of people are familiar with, which I actually haven't read the books, but am a big fan of the games. I can see the grim, dark aspect. So this is definitely similarly pretty dark, related to human nature, and it definitely goes over some like colonialism and our relationship with the natural world. I really appreciate those themes in Vandermeer's work. So I've read the omnibus edition is 3 books that are put together into one volume, and I've read the first one at this point, and I almost put it down after the first story. I think it's called City of Saints and Madmen, and the first story was like a very disturbing narrator. Was not a fan, but try to be like, okay, it's not always, you don't always have to have a likable narrator in your stories, and so I kind of tried to keep going, and I'm really glad I did. I liked a lot of the other stories, and I'm interested to see where else he takes it. He's like playing a lot with layering over sort of academic writing in this imaginary world, and so there's like some play around with footnotes and stuff, and I'm really enjoying it. But it is, I think, 867 pages long, so yeah, it's a tome, and so I'm looking forward this month to getting through the rest of it. The other 2 books are called Shriek and Afterward and Finch, which I've heard the third one is a little bit more of like a noir detective story, which is very different from what I'm reading right now. So, yeah, that's the first mammoth I will be taking on is Ambergris Omnibus, 867 pages. And then I'm reading a second one, also in March. I don't know that I will finish the second mammoth that I'm reading in March, but it is going to be The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. And I know I mentioned in my intro video that I really loved this book as a kid, and that I no longer recommend it. And that is because of Bradley's daughter, and also, I believe, her son, accusing Bradley of sexual child abuse. And this was very upsetting to learn about. I think 4 years ago this happened. And, once I started digging, I realized that Bradley had already been accused of some terrible things, specifically her husband or ex-husband, it's kind of unclear, was imprisoned for pedophilia, sexual abuse of children, and there were allegations previous that Marion Zimmer Bradley had, basically aided and abetted in his abuse of children. And so that was disturbing enough. But it really takes it to the next level for her to be directly implicated in her own children's abuse. And so, yeah, I'm reading this again, partially, I think, in my own just drive to see how it comes across to me as an adult. I read this book when I was a preteen, maybe, and so I kind of want to see with fresh eyes how the themes and the content come across to me, and if it holds up as a feminist retelling of the Arthur story. So there's already sort of that interest, and then also to see if, and this is something that we often do when we are brought face to face with someone whose work we've admired, being accused of terrible behavior. I kind of want to see if I can see any of that in the book. I don't really remember there being disturbing sexual content outside of what already exists in the Arthur myth of Arthur and Morgaine being half brother and sister and having a child together, right? That's already disturbing content. But I think like the way that Bradley handles it, I want to kind of go back with adult eyes and look at and share my findings with you. So look forward to that in a future video. But I also did not, I did not purchase this book. Part of the reason that I am deciding to reread it is that I stumbled across a free pile with, I think 3 of Bradley's books, one of which is Mammoths of Avalon, and 2 others are, I think, prequels that I've never read. The Forest House, which was her first book. I think she wrote it when she was like 17. And then another, I can't remember the other one's name. But so because I found this book in a free pile and I'm not benefiting Bradley's estate by consuming it, I figured I would do this since I had this curiosity of rereading her work. I've also never seen the miniseries, shockingly. So I just want to see Angelica Houston in that. So I will let you know what I think. This book is 876 pages long, so like very similar lengths of the 2 mammoths that I'm taking on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what I find. And I really appreciate that this challenge exists, because I think it's an opportunity to get some of those heavy lifts off my bookshelf onto my already read list. So I will try and do a video about these books later in the month. Let me know if you are also doing the March of the Mammoths challenge. Interested to see what everybody else is reading. And thank you so much for watching.